Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and X. And for the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with prim and proper sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. And that's just a sampling. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. For laptops, mobile phones, and tablets, download the Roku app. National Streaming Sports, live and on demand, sports talk for America.
Football season is here, and SeatGeek is my go-to for buying tickets. Now, with SeatGeek, every single ticket is backed with their buyer guarantee. We've all had plans change, and when you can't make it to the big game, SeatGeek has you covered. They're the only ticketer that allows you to return your tickets ahead of the event for credit with SeatGeek swaps. So when things come up, I know that my tickets won't go to waste. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app to maximize your possibilities and
Come on, let's play this. I'm going to leave it off with Show Me the Way. Yes, sir. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Monday version of the Mac and Jack Sports Show. That's from Frampton Live. What an album that was. When I was growing up, I was young when that came out, Jack, but it was a great album. Listen, we've had a lot of, I think we're going to have the Philly sports guy become our reporter because, Philly sports guy gets the news before we all do. And he has things going on that we didn't even think of. So I think I'm going to start getting with Pags ahead of time and see what's going on around the NFL. So that we can get the skinny before anybody else does. Good.
Well, Pags is the guy, for those who aren't aware, when you're watching the NFL games, whenever the Eagles play, the guy who's all painted up and dressed up in the crazy Eagles, I won't say costume, he paints himself or whatever. He's the guy that the camera's always on as the ultimate Philly sports guy who we're privileged to have on this show. And he's a real knowledgeable guy. And he should be on today, Mac. He was at the game yesterday in Philadelphia.
Yeah,
He should be in the aftermath today.
I don't know if he's even awake. I mean, by the time that game got over and he got home, it had to be after midnight. And, I imagine there was a couple beverages that he drank afterwards because the Eagles – they did their thing and they beat the Rams 28-22.
Well, when you say they did their thing, it was a back and forth. It turned out to be a great game. And the elements, the weather. I mean, it's so unpredictable. No lead is a 2-touchdown lead, or certainly a 1-touchdown lead, is far from safe in elements like that because players could so easily slip. A fluke play could take place. Even when the Rams went down a couple of touchdowns late in the game, I didn't think it was over. I thought, if they could score a touchdown here, they can get the ball back. And with the elements being like they are, it just takes a couple of players to slip, lose their footing. It could happen under normal conditions. And it turned out to be a great game. And just when the Eagle defense looked really exhausted at the end of the game, it's like they got their second wind and they shut the door on the Rams. Everything was going the Rams' way. And sometimes you don't understand play calling too, because we had that also take place in the Buffalo-Baltimore Raven game yesterday. And all people are going to really remember is the end of the game, the drop ball by Mark Andrews, maybe some of the turnovers. But there was a situation even where the Ravens could have tied the game up. Okay, it was 14-12, and Buffalo couldn't stop Derrick Henry. They couldn't stop the run for anything. I mean, Baltimore was completely overpowering them, and they go for the 2-point conversion. Just hand the ball to Derrick Henry. You could have held up a sign. We're handing it off to Derrick Henry, guys. You could stack the box, and you still can't stop them. That's how much the Ravens were overpowering the Buffalo Bills, with the run game. Yet Lamar Jackson tries to pass, and it's incomplete. And they don't get the 2-point conversion. And they lose by 2 points at the end.
Before we cover both games in the first 6 minutes here, let's kind of break them down a little bit. Good morning, Dave Guyette. We will get to Buffalo after we get done talking about the Eagles game. Is the Philadelphia Eagles, do they have the best run game in the NFL, Jack?
Well, they have Saquon Barkley. I mean, you could argue they have the best running back in the NFL. I mean, he's making things happen. And their offensive line, I mean, their run blocking is pretty good on the offensive line, too. Yesterday, the offensive line really was losing the battle against the Rams pass rush for, most of the game. Finally, they were getting Jalen Hurts a little time, but Jalen Hurts was under a lot of duress, especially even that time he took the safety. And you might think, well, how can a quarterback take a safety? It's the one thing you don't do. You get rid of the ball. But, Mac, it's easy for us to sit back there and say, because a guy's not just breaking through in a split second coming after you. And if you try to just get rid of the ball, it could have dire consequences. Yeah. So, he got sacked there. Jalen Hurts for safety was under a lot of duress. But then they straightened out in the second half. The good teams find a way to straighten out. And that's what happened, with the Buffalo Bill offensive line. McKay Becton, former Jet. It just reminds you, players switching teams. The Jets gave up on him. The Giants didn't think Barkley was important enough to keep him. And look at what these guys are on to the NFC Championship game, while the other two New York teams are picking high in the draft.
So Barkley ended up with 205 yards. I agree with you. Listen, on 2 of those runs, he didn't get touched. I mean, he didn't get touched. The hole was so big, me and you could have ran through it. We might not have ran for a touchdown, but we would have got through the original hole. I mean, even the linemen were looking for somebody to block going through the hole there. I mean, it was incredible. Barkley looked like a big kid running around in the snow at the end when he scored a touchdown. Very happy for Saquon Barkley that, he has a chance to go to the Super Bowl. Hurts.
Whoa. They got one more game to play. Hold on. Oh, you said chance.
Yes.
Back. Okay. Not that he's going. Chance. Yeah.
Right. Richard.
Let me tell you something funny about the 4 teams, Mac, that no one is talking about. Outside of Kansas City, the other 3 cities are right next to one another practically. Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington. Think of the proximity. The 3 are bunched up.
Yeah. Good morning, Richard. Glad to have you aboard.
Oh, not Baltimore. I'm sorry. What am I saying? I had in my Buffalo. I mean, yes. Philadelphia, Washington, Buffalo, East Coast. Yeah, but not as intense as Baltimore. I take that back.
Hurts, before he got hurt, had 70 yards and 1 touchdown. He had a nice run there. He did get his leg hurt, his knee. They had you were talking about the safety he gave up. Well, he was wearing, a brace. He couldn't really move. So the guy's on top of him, and maybe if he didn't have the brace on, maybe he gets out of that. But he couldn't. I don't know if that's going to affect him next week when he plays Washington or not. We'll see. Sometimes when you get injured like that, it really he's got a week to mend, but it really starts hurting and affecting you during that week. So we'll see what happens as far as when he plays Washington. Listen, you mentioned the Rams. The Rams were in the game all the way. They were singing "Fly Eagles Fly" when they were up by 2 touchdowns, and all of a sudden the Rams come back and they score a touchdown. And the Eagles Fly didn't.
Fly Eagles Fly. I mean,
yes.
Yeah.
And,
it made it sound like Rams singing it, even though Jared Verse was trying to get into it with the fans, pump himself up, and so on. And scary situation in Philadelphia. And Barkley got that touchdown to put him ahead by the 13 points. I just didn't feel, the game was completely over, even though there was a feel in the crowd, that's it. And, we all thought, yeah, they probably have the game won now. But you knew that the Rams did have time. If they could take it down the field and score a touchdown on the next possession, that there was a good chance that they could get the ball back. And Philadelphia still had to close the game out. And it turned out that Philadelphia's defense had to make the final stand.
Which, as you said, it looked like they got a second win. Stafford had 324 yards, a couple of touchdowns. Kyron Williams, 106 yards. And
big fumble by him too.
Yes, huge, and he does have a history of fumbling too.
Yeah,
that's why he got pulled out earlier this season. The defense had 7 sacks for the Rams, so the defense, as far as passing goes, as you said, they played pretty well against the pass. They really, Hurts really only didn't have that many yards passing.
Well, the conditions weren't conducive to a passing game.
Stafford had no problem. He threw for 324 yards. I mean, I think
late in the game, the Eagles, when they were up by 2 touchdowns, weren't playing overly aggressive.
They didn't have to. They had Saquon. They didn't have to pass. They had Saquon Barkley.
No. I'm talking about the Eagles on defense. They weren't overly aggressive. They were playing, it seemed like, if there's such a thing as a mini prevent defense, kind of.
They only was 4 for the most part. I agree with that.
Right. They were playing like half and half, not a complete, prevent defense, which is to allow the opponents to have yards in small increments, 5-6 yards at a time. Let them get first downs as long as the clock is, going.
And I got some news about Stafford a little bit later. Buffalo gets by Baltimore. Josh Allen ran for a couple touchdowns. Cook ran pretty well. Lamar Jackson, 254 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception. Henry has 84 yards, 1 touchdown. Likely the tight end had a touchdown. I don't know if there's a curse there somewhere. And I do believe in curses, Jack, not because I think, somebody has bones and stuff and chicken wings and they're trying to I believe players think that they're going to lose sometimes, like the Red Sox did for years, like the Cubs did for years. I think that it's in their head with certain teams. I think the Baltimore Ravens have something in their head that they're going to go to the playoffs and they're going to lose. And it's the weirdest thing. And there's many ways they lose, as you talked about. The sure-handed tight end drops the ball. I mean, the ball was in his hands. He's falling down. He drops the ball. I know the weather's bad, but he could have done, Lamar could have just went out there and handed it to him. It was right there. Now, maybe they should have run Derrick Henry. Maybe Lamar Jackson should have ran for it. I don't know. But it was a great play. He was wide open. The ball hits him in the hands. He drops it as he's falling down. So I don't fault the play calling by the Ravens at all, Jack. I think that was a good call.
Matt, I don't think they had it in their head at all that they were cursed, that they were going to lose the game. I think, I don't know what was in their head, but my feeling is they went into the game confident they were going to beat Buffalo. They trounced Buffalo during the regular season. They weren't going into Buffalo thinking they were going to lose. They knew it was a game they obviously could lose. And they knew it was going to be a great matchup, and they knew that this was going to be a better Buffalo Bill team than they beat during the regular season in Baltimore. And, Lamar Jackson said it best. I mean, after the game, we just got to get this right. We're so close. We just haven't been able to take the next step. We haven't been, and it's frustrating. And not getting beat bad in these games. Last year they lose 17-10 to the Kansas City Chiefs. They fumble the ball going over their own goal line. That's how haunted they were last year. And now this game, you know what happened with Mark Andrews? Yeah, he should have caught the ball. But at the end of the day, it's one play, like Tony Romo was talking about it. And he wasn't really criticizing Mark Andrews. He was being fair. He says 99 out of 100 times he catches that ball. But you got to catch the ball. Tony Romo had a similar thing happen to him during his career, but no one talks about it anymore. Mac, when the Giants were playing the Cowboys, the year the Giants won the Super Bowl, they were 7-7. Romo had a wide open receiver late in the fourth quarter, a few minutes left. He missed him, a wide open receiver. Had he made the throw, the first down Dallas, game would have been over. Giants couldn't have stopped the clock. But Giants got the ball back, came back to win the game. And they went on to the Super Bowl. That's the thin line you're playing with. Mark Andrews absolutely should have caught the ball. I don't want to hear about whether this or that, but he's a great receiver. He had a bad game. He fumbled the ball earlier. It happens.
Yes. I don't disagree that he's one of the best tight ends in the league. There's no doubt about it. But this is now, 7 years in a row that the Baltimore gets knocked out of the playoffs. One was a championship. I mean, you say it's not a curse. What I'm saying is that it gets in your head. Until you win that game, until you go to the Super Bowl, that's in your head. After Buffalo Bills lost that one Super Bowl to the Giants, they played worse.
Mac, let me give you a better example here. The Buffalo Bills have gone to Kansas City. They haven't been able to beat Kansas City in the playoffs. So you think it's in Buffalo's head that they feel they're cursed going into the game at Kansas City?
Don't tell me
after the game if Buffalo loses that you're going to say they felt they were cursed.
Well, you asked me a question. I think it's in their head. I think it's in their head, especially after that game when they came roaring back with 13 seconds left. That's in their head. That's in Josh Allen's head. That's in the head coach's head.
You're making it out now, Mac, that Buffalo is going to Kansas City, and they're already half-beaten, according to you. They're half-beaten already before the game even began. And if they're half-beaten, then they're not going to win.
I think Buffalo has it in their head that they're going to have to make a play, some super play. Josh Allen thinks he's going to have to do something super that might lose the game for him. Listen, I think Buffalo, they beat him during the regular season. I think Buffalo is pretty even with Kansas City. I think so. I think Kansas City's defense might be a little bit better, especially the run defense. Well, I think their defense is a little better.
Yeah.
But I think that Buffalo has it in their head that they're going to have to do something. They're going to have to do something to win this game extraordinary instead of just play their game like they did the regular season. This is Chief territory, man. And I want Buffalo to beat the Chiefs. Trust me. I want Buffalo to beat the Chiefs. I don't want to see the Chiefs three-peat. I do. But I just think that there's going to be some kind of thing where, I don't know, Jack. I think it's Chief territory. The playoffs are the Chiefs games. And Buffalo, I think Josh Allen may try something superhuman to win this game, and he doesn't have to.
Yeah. Rick puts down about the play with Mark Andrews. It reminds us of the Smith thing. I don't know. We never know how people are going to remember certain players for certain plays. I mean, Jackie Smith, Hall of Famer, it happened in the Super Bowl against the Steelers. And in reality, it wasn't 100% his fault. He was wide open in the end zone. Roger Staubach threw the ball lower than he should have. Jackie Smith should have caught it. It wasn't a good throw, but it was a very catchable throw. No. Let's put it that way, okay? And Roger Staubach said it best late on. He said, no, 50% my fault, 50% Jackie's fault. And he was actually right on that. But quarterbacks are not judged as critically for an off-target throw as a receiver is for dropping a ball. Okay?
I agree with that.
Kind of a different standard. But getting back with the Buffalo-Kansas City game, yeah, I mean, they know the history to build players, but if anything, that's going to make them more determined to get over the top because they haven't been blown out in these playoff losses to the Chiefs. They've been close games. They've been winnable games. And I also believe a lot of the time, not always, though, when you play a team during the regular season, it gives you a little boost of confidence, too. They played the Chiefs in the season. Now, the Chiefs were unbeaten, Matt, when the Bills played them. So it meant a lot to the Chiefs to win the game because there was already a little bit talk, hey, could the Chiefs have an unbeaten season? Yet the Chiefs lost to the Bills. They couldn't find a way to beat them during the regular season the way they did with everyone else, forgetting their last game against Denver, which was a throwaway game. And from the Chief perspective, Mac, they're not going to go into the game against Buffalo overconfident. Oh, we have a way. We always beat these guys in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. We'll find a way to beat them. I think the Chiefs on high alert. High alert. They understand the threat that Buffalo represents. Let me throw this at you now, Mac. Forgetting reputations, forgetting accomplishments, forgetting the past. Who's a better quarterback at this moment? Only Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Forgetting past.
Well, Josh Allen had a better season this year, but I think Patrick Mahomes is a better playoff quarterback. Josh Allen did not throw for that many yards, Jack. I mean, he ran for 2 touchdowns, but it's not like he threw. I think he threw for like 120 something yards. Let's see if I get it.
He's playing smarter. He's playing smarter.
127 yards.
Josh Allen is playing smarter. He's playing more mistake-free than ever before. He's taking less chances. If he has to, he'll open things up. But he hasn't had to. Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator, has done a really good job there working with him.
Listen, I think there are 2 types of teams. One, the ones that know how to win. The Eagles did go to Super Bowl 2 years ago. They got some of the people there still from that Super Bowl run. I think Washington's got to learn to win. I don't know what Washington's going to do with that. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I think Buffalo is like the Bull. Before they go to championship, they had to beat the Pistons. And the Pistons beat them 3 years ago. And that's what I think it's like right now, Jack. Listen, I don't think Buffalo doesn't have the talent to beat the Chiefs. They got to go to Arrowhead. They're not playing in Buffalo this time. They're going to Arrowhead. That's a hell of a place to play. Like I said, I'm rooting for Buffalo. I just don't know if they can pull it off.
The question's this. You make the comparison. Is this Chief team this year as good as the Chief teams of the last few years, the ones that have won 3 Super Bowls? If you think they're as good as those Chief teams, then I can't go for your Chicago Bull Detroit Piston comparison, because the Pistons were kind of like an aging team. They were kind of past their peak, and the Bulls were at their peak.
Yeah,
so,
but still, you still got to beat them. And the same thing with the Celtics. The Pistons had to find a way to get by the Celtics. I mean, I think listen, Jack, I think Mahomes is a young guy. I think the Chiefs, for the most part, are a pretty young team. They're a young team. Buffalo, for the most part, is a pretty young team. I think it's pretty evenly matched. I give the defense of the Chiefs the edge. And that's what wins championship games, Jack. So, I mean, I want Buffalo to win. I'm honest. I'm being honest. I want Buffalo to win this game. I might even pick.
What do you have against KC, Matt? I didn't know you were anti.
I just don't.
I never realized. I
like that.
Before. But you can't.
I am now.
Well, since when you're a Buffalo Bill fan, I don't get this. I know you're disillusioned with the New York Giants, and maybe you want another team to fill the void for the time being. I mean, that's the only thing I can.
New York. They're from New York, right?
But you're Connecticut. I use the New York reason. I mean, you're Connecticut. I mean, you could use the Patriots to fill your void for the Giants.
We don't have a pro football team in Connecticut, Jack. You know that. So it's half Patriots, half Giants.
Yeah, some people feel they don't have in New York, maybe in more ways than one last season.
My father's from New York. What can I tell you? That's how I ended up becoming.
2 New York teams play in New Jersey when you think of it.
Exactly. So let's talk a little bit about what's going to happen against the Eagles against the Commanders. Again, Jalen Hurts hurt leg. I don't know if that affects him or not. Saquon Barkley's going to run the ball. It's going to happen. I think the only way Washington beats the Eagles is if they outscore them like they did in the last game, Jack. They're going to have to outscore the Eagles because I don't think.
Well, I don't think the winner of the game outscores the other team.
But I mean, it's going to be. It's going to be a high scoring game, Jack. I think it's going to be 38-35 if the Commanders win. If it's a low scoring game, the Eagles win.
Yeah, I mean, the Commanders don't have the greatest, I mean, they put Jared Goff under a lot of pressure, so their pass rush really did pick it up, in the playoff game. And they weren't bad against Tampa Bay, rushing Baker Mayfield as well. But, the Commanders remind me of a fun bunch. Like they're going to go, I mean, they're not going to be awed to play the Eagles. To them, you get the feeling this is fun. This is exciting, guys. That it's like they're going on a mini vacation and they're like giddy going into Philadelphia. And they played in Philadelphia earlier this season. So they had that experience, of playing in Philadelphia. With the Eagles, they're going to be an extremely confident group. That may have been a blessing in disguise the second time the teams played at Philadelphia, and the Commanders came from behind and stole the game at the end and pulled it out. And that was very upsetting to Philadelphia at the time because it essentially ended their chance of getting a bye. They were in good position to maybe be the number one seed and get a bye. It was coming down at that time between them and the Lions, it looked like at that time. And by losing to Washington, wow, now we're not going to get the bye. So that was a damaging loss. And it's a game that they had won, the Eagles, that they seemed to blow at the end. And I think that's going to help them for this game because the two teams are like one apiece. So now this is kind of like a rivalry there as far as the Eagles are concerned. I don't think they're looking at the Commanders necessarily as the new kid on the block, but as a young rival who they really got to put in their place. In other words, it's more than just the NFC Championship game to them. It's a rivalry now. So that's going to give it a little extra juice.
And if you look at the NFC East, you got a team that doesn't have a coach, and you got Dak Prescott, and you got problems over there, some kind of communication problems. I don't know what it is, but McCarthy's gone. You got a head coach opening, and then you got the Giants who have no quarterback, and their GM and their coaches on. If they don't win this year, they should be gone. They should be gone this year to begin with. But if they don't win this year, they're gone next year. I mean, the Eagles and the Commanders are NFC East right now. Those are the two teams in the NFC East that should be on top for a couple more years.
And maybe the Cowboys regroup and at least, improve over what they were last year. But I think if there's a lesson to be learned, that's something the Giants could take out of it. You look at the Commanders, look at the big leap they took up this year. I mean, no one expected them to be this good. And let's face it, even the most optimistic Commander fan couldn't see them going to the NFC Championship game, being one game away from going to the Super Bowl. Would it be well if the Commanders won their next two games and was Super Bowl?
That'd be awesome.
I mean, wouldn't that be the longest of long shots? And it's I don't think it's going to happen, but it's realistic now. It's realistic. Yeah. They're 2 games away. They got a shot at beating Philadelphia. They got a shot at winning in the Super Bowl if they got there. And if you're the Giants, that's how you have to look at things. Sometimes you just need that one right player. But with the Commanders, they got the right play in the quarterback position. But let's say hypothetically, the Commanders didn't get Jaden Daniels this year. And let's say they got someone like Baker Mayfield who quarterback. They could have went on the same run perhaps. Okay?
I don't think so.
Perhaps. But look, Baker took the Bucs pretty far, and they came within an eyelash of beating the Commanders too. So who to say that the Buccaneers, if they didn't win the game with the Commanders, in which they got edged out with the field goal hitting the post, that the Buccaneers wouldn't be playing in this game? But what I'm trying to say is a team can suddenly rise. But unless the Giants get the jolt, you look at the NFC East, you're so far beneath the Eagles and the Commanders now. Big too. And what the heck are they doing? I mean, and John Mara, who should be held accountable for them losing the fan favorite Saquon Barkley, he should be the guy held accountable by the Giant fans more than anyone. How they could botch up. He said his biggest fear of Saquon Barkley went to the Eagles. Joe Shine basically said, nah, don't worry. I doubt if that's going to happen. And now the Eagles, he boosted up in the franchise. Their marketability, everything about the Eagles is boosted up by the Giants' blunder. And how much money was Saquon Barkley asking for? Running backs get underpaid. You know, if you pay them even like a receiver, I mean, can you believe C.D. Lamb is getting close to 3 times the amount of money as Saquon Barkley? That's ludicrous. Okay. It's idiotic.
It is. It is. I mean, what weapon right now in the playoffs is better? What receiver is better? What quarterback is better right now in the playoffs than Saquon Barkley as far as scoring touchdowns and being effective?
And Jerry Jones, he pays C.D. Lamb, what, $38-39 million a year, but he can't pay Derrick Henry $12 million a year. See,
that was ridiculous.
I mean, no, but that's the mentality these guys have towards running backs. If I'm Saquon Barkley, you know what I do, Mac? If the Eagles win the Super Bowl, I let the Eagles know I'm going to honor my contract, what I have on it. I'm honoring it, but I either get an extension and get elite money, or I'm retiring. And I would actually retire. He has enough to retire on now. And I would actually retire if they weren't going to extend me and put me at least somewhat in the ballpark of what the wide receivers have for what I mean to the Eagle team. Mac, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just I was taking a break. You can hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the Stafford news. Matt Stafford will be back in the NFL, if not with the Rams. This is from NBC News. He'll continue playing with another team. Check out this contract, Jack. He has 2 years left on a 3-year contract. Only $4 million is fully guaranteed. That's the bonus he got. Non-guaranteed, $23 million. So right now, Matt Stafford is one of the lowest paid, high-profile quarterbacks in the league. So it's going to be in the Rams' corner whether they want to. I don't think he's going to. I wouldn't, if I'm Matt Stafford and I see the Jags quarterback getting 60 and I see this guy getting 60, I see Jared Goff I want some money. And he's older right now. He needs to cash in. So if I'm Matt Stafford, the Rams don't do it, I start looking somewhere else.
Oh, no. Well, can he be a free agent? That's the question. Can he be
He can refuse to play.
Yeah, he can retire. Same thing I said with Saquon. I agree completely. The Rams will work it out with Matthew Stafford. They will work something out, okay? I mean, and if I'm Matthew Stafford, I agree 100%. I absolutely don't play, on that. He's made enough money in his career where he could technically afford to retire. But if he wants to continue playing, he's still a good quarterback. He's still effective. You work something out with him for the next couple of years. I'm not saying you make him the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, no. But you work out, a nice salary where he's not so far behind the other guys. Unfortunately, it sets a really bad example when you look at the Trevor Lawrences and the Jordan Loves amongst the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL, because they really haven't done anything to merit it. They've done very little to merit it. It's okay if a Matthew Stafford looks and he sees Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson getting that type of tremendous money, he could think to himself, I'll get a little less than these guys. Okay, fine. But he looks at the Trevor Lawrence, Jordan Loves, and thinks, I've won a Super Bowl for the Rams. I'm going to be a Hall of Famer. I still got a lot left. And yeah, but he hasn't complained during the season, from what I understand. He's been honoring his deal.
Not at all.
But I agree 100%. If I'm Matthew Stafford, I'm playing hardball. But the thing is, you have to be ready to retire, Mac. You really have to be ready to walk away. to get the type of deal that you want. But I don't know how many years I give Matthew Stafford. I wouldn't give Matthew Stafford a 3-year deal, a top quarterback money, because I'm not sure he's got the 3 years left in him. He's been around a while. He's still good. I would go 2 years, get him a really nice 2-year deal, maybe in the ballpark like of $90 million for 2 years. Kind of close to the Kirk Cousins, money, maybe a little more than what Kirk Cousins got with the Falcons. But we'll see where, he doesn't have a lot of leverage, Matthew Stafford, beyond retiring. And the Rams don't have a lot of leverage because what are they going to do? Make Jimmy Garoppolo their starter? He's their backup. That's just not going to, he's not as good as Matthew Stafford. And I think they realize that next season, if they want to come back and make a Super Bowl run again, they'll need Matthew Stafford.
And they got a nice young team there, Jack, besides Stafford. I mean, with Puka, their young defensive line, young running game. I mean, they got a good little team. And I don't think anybody expected them to go as far as they did either. They started off pretty bad. I think it was 1-4, and they came roaring back again. So, I agree. I agree that I
definitely a deal that you were proposing that I laughed at. Matthew Stafford to Sam Darnold. Darnold's a free agent. If he offered to sign with the Rams would say, "Get out of here." And but the Vikings would take Stafford. They would work.
Well, wait a minute.
Contract for a couple of years.
They sure would. So we got the national championship finally today. We've been talking about it the whole week. Notre Dame and Ohio State. Ohio State is favored. So when I talked to Keith on the Sunday football show, and I said, listen, Ohio State with backing from Frank Lotierzo, I think wins this game. I think they beat Notre Dame, even though I want Notre Dame to win. The only way Notre Dame wins is on turnovers. They got a great defense that converts turnovers into touchdowns. They have a very good special teams. That would all have to be going 100% on point from them beat Ohio State. Ohio State is just a better team on paper, Jack.
Yeah, Mac, even though your analysis is spot on, I can write a piece of paper to someone who doesn't know a thing about football, and they could read it. They say, in order for Notre Dame to win, and I'm not mocking you because you're 100% correct in your analysis, but we hear that with every team, every game that's played when there's an underdog. For them to win, they're going to have to force some turnovers. The special teams are going to have to play well. These are cliches. The bottom line is this.
Well,
is Notre Dame is talented to hang with Ohio State? Are they as forceful? I don't think so.
First is not the cliches when it comes to Notre Dame because they lead the league in touchdowns over turnovers. So I think they have 7 or 8. They also lead the league in special teams returning punts and kicks. So it's not a cliche when it comes to Notre Dame this year. Listen, I had when we had Keith on a big football show, I got a problem with this whole championship thing. It takes way too long. This started before New Year's. We're still, we're finally getting to the championship game. The bowls are okay. Some of them are good. Some of them are no good. I mean, there's a lot to clean up when it comes to me, the college football and the playoffs. Because to me, I don't know that Notre Dame and Ohio State are the two best teams in the country right now, Jack. I don't know that. I know that they beat who they had to beat to get to this point. But if you're going to talk, even Oregon was ranked number 1 this year, ended up getting a draw with Ohio State, barely lost to Ohio State. I think Oregon should be there. I think there's certain teams because of the way they seeded them.
Playoff, they lost, Mac. You have the NCAA who has basketball, 64 teams, March Madness. The team that was the best team during the regular season oftentimes gets, knocked out of the tournament, sometimes very early by an inferior team. It's the only way we could do things. You're not going to go back to the old way where the riders, the AP, they decide who the national championship is by balloting. Let them play it on the field. And the truth of the matter is, before these playoffs, these bowl games were getting to be darn boring. They really were. And we would always be arguing like, oh, who should be the national champion before the playoffs, this and that. We don't want it coming down to a vote. Let them play it on the field. Unfortunately, you can only expand it so far. But if there's a lack of interest at times, it might be because of when these games are being played. Let's be honest about it. We can only digest so much sports at once. And they're going opposite the NFL playoffs. You're a big, big football fan, Mac. But when you get 4 playoff games the weekend before, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, by the time you get to Monday night, your enthusiasm level, the edge comes off it. You're not as psyched for the game because you've just gone through an exhausting 4 NFL games, watching the ebbs and the flows.
And I'll be honest with you, I don't like them playing at 7:30 at night either. Monday night, I don't like them playing that.
Well, when are they supposed to play? You know what? The best time for the game to be played, Mac. I just thought about this. Wow, college should figure this out. They should play the game the one weekend before the Super Bowl. There are no games. Play it on a Sunday. I think the NFL would hate it because if you play it on a Sunday, are people going to regard it as kind of like a takeoff of the Super Bowl, have parties, this or that? Play it that weekend, play it that Saturday night of the weekend of the Super Bowl.
They would have to wait to February, Jack. Now you're extending the thing by another month almost. I think they should have played this Saturday. How's that?
Start the season maybe 2 weeks later so it fits in. I'm just brainstorming. But that would be the game. We're not psyched for the big game tonight as much as we normally would be because of the NFL playoffs. They're going up. The college championship game is attaching themselves towards the end of the NFL playoff weekend.
I think these ratings will go through the roof, to be honest with you. A lot of Notre Dame fans out there. Ohio State has some big of course they have their followers, but Notre Dame is just countrywide. I think these ratings will be off the chart. I just don't like them playing at nighttime. I don't like college football playing at nighttime. I would have rather
seen play the game. When should they play the game then?
I think they should have played Saturday.
But the NFL's
Saturday?
going on.
They had late game Saturday, right? They had a game at 6 and a game at 8. Playing the afternoon.
No, they had a game at 4:30. So if you had the college game at 12 o'clock noontime on Saturday, the ending, and then you'd move on to the NFL, it would be something to consider. But I think when you want all the hoopla accompanying a massive championship game, you don't put it on a noon time on Saturday. You like it at the very least late afternoon or evening. So there's like a whole lead up to it.
Yeah.
In a way you put it noon time, in a way it's like opening act to the NFL games.
There you go.
Game
what's wrong with that?
Tonight, no, but a big game like that, a championship college game, has to have the spotlight to themselves. And they do have it tonight on Monday night. But part of the problem, too, people do have work the next day. And they're starting it at 7:30. The Super Bowl game normally started on a Sunday more than an hour before. So for the people who want to go to work, the Super Bowl game usually would be over by 10 o'clock. So the people could get to sleep at a reasonable time and go to work the next day. But by the time this game ends tonight, if it's a close game, it's not going to end till maybe after 11. And, people that got work the next day, some people, they're not up that late. They just don't want to stay up.
I agree. We are halfway through the NBA season, believe it or not, Jack, already. Cleveland keeps impressing as at 35-6. Boston's 29-13. The Knicks 27-16. The Bucks 24-17. The Pacers 24-19 in the West. The Thunder's 35-7. Houston's 28-13. Memphis is 27-15. Denver 26-16, followed by the Clippers and the Lakers. Jack, can Cleveland keep this up for the rest of the year?
I think more question is, can anyone beat OKC in the playoff series? They look so good. I can't imagine someone beating them 4 games, winning 4 out of 7. The problem with Cleveland, they're in a very competitive Eastern Division, and Cleveland really didn't make a lot of changes in the offseason. They're basically the same Cavalier team, good, solid team we've known all along. They're just playing great, led by Donovan Mitchell. But there are the other teams there that are going to pose a threat come playoff time, notably the Celtics. You get the feeling with the Celtics, are they kind of coasting, thinking, the regular season isn't that important. We'll be good enough. So if Cleveland has home court advantage, we can win in Cleveland, a game or 2 if we have to. And then you get a team like the Knicks who beat up on the weaker teams, but the teams who have a better than 500 record, they kind of struggle a little bit against. And you have some of the other wild card teams, in the East, like Milwaukee, Philadelphia, who maybe, who's still on the outside looking in, but might be playing better by the end of the season, who could pose a threat as well. Young teams like Orlando, Indiana, who, made a playoff run last year. But can Cleveland keep it going? Yeah, I mean, perhaps. I can't say that they can't, but something tells me Cleveland has a much harder road to the finals than a team like OKC. They played OKC the other night in OKC. They beat them in Cleveland, and then OKC kind of got their revenge in OKC. So that's a nice thing about the NBA. You do have a lot of good teams there, Mac, and there's a lot that's up for grabs.
Houston surprising everybody, I think, in second place right now. Nobody's talked about the Rockets in the offseason. Dallas, Denver, everybody else. Rockets are playing some good ball. Good young team over there, Jack. And, it'd be nice to see them, get back into the playoffs again.
Yeah, I mean, they'll get to the playoffs when all's said and done. Worst case scenario, they'll be a play-in team. No worse than that if they slip. Yeah, but there's so much competition there. I mean, do we give up on the Denver Nuggets? They look a little long in the tooth, compared to the team that won the NBA championship a couple of years ago. What happens if the Nuggets get it together again? And they're the type of Denver Nugget team where we knew from a couple of years ago. They certainly pose a threat. And then there's the old warhorse teams. I mean, there's the LA Lakers. Are we going to discount them with LeBron and Anthony Davis if they have it all together? The Phoenix Suns, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal. Should we count them out? And are we completely saying the Golden State Warriors are done? Are we really ready to say that? Steph, Curry, maybe Draymond Green gets it together by the end of the year, Andrew Wiggins, et cetera. I mean, these teams are the established teams. Think of that. The Lakers, the Suns, the Warriors, they have future Hall of Famers on that team playing now. And they're still playing at a high level, Mac, individually, the players. But their teams are struggling. And what happens if all of a sudden by the end of the year, the San Antonio Spurs, they just keep improving with Wembanyama. They're so much better than they were last year. But
I agree with that.
The playoffs begin, and the Spurs, aren't an easy out. That's if they got to the playoffs. The play-in, the playoffs, they could be a dangerous team because I'm going to tell you something. In a couple of years, the San Antonio Spurs might be the NBA champions. They just might be the NBA champions. But what happens if they move their clock up, their timetable up, and the improvement comes quick? The Spurs could be the NBA's version of the Washington Commanders by the end of the year. I mean, who would have thought the Commanders an inspiration, man?
Yes.
I mean, who would have thought the Washington Commanders? Man, oh man! Talk about, Just quickly.
So in the game,
Okay.
The game last night, Giannis has 34 points as the Bucks beat the Sixers, 15 rebounds. Bucks beat the Sixers 123-109. Joel Embiid got thrown out of the game, Jack, after going after a female referee. Called her a dumb blonde beach. So he got thrown out of the game, and he didn't play last night. I don't know if they suspended him or what happened there, but he didn't play last night. Joel Embiid, what are the 76ers going to do with that guy? I mean, he's not playing great. He's always hurt. He gets in trouble. He doesn't know. I don't know what he thinks in his head. He just says things that are just ridiculous. And you don't go after a female referee. That's just a bad look.
No. Wait a second. Wait, she's a referee. She's not. We don't talk about men being men referees. We shouldn't talk about women being women referees. She is a referee.
Well,
I don't treat her like a lady. No, she's a referee. You have to show respect to the referees if you're a player. You can't call them names. And let's say hypothetically it's a man, and he says to the man, "You fat slob." That's out of line, completely out of line, and had to be dealt with. But I don't want to hear come down harder on Joel Embiid because she's a woman, the referee. I mean, the bottom line, she's a referee. But with that said, you can't condone that type of language. And yes, the league should come down on him. That's inappropriate behavior.
You can say whatever you want, Jack, and people can say whatever they want. Because it's a female, there's going to be a little bit more oomph in the punishment. I don't care what you say. That's just the way the society is. They're going to protect the female before they protect the male. That's the way it is. And that hasn't changed. So even though the female should be treated equally, which they want, and I'm not saying that female referee wants to be treated any different. If he went after a male referee and said, "You dumb jerk" or whatever, it's not the same. It's not the same.
Say I don't like the part about mentioning the blonde, this, that, the women's stereotype thing, the language, completely out of line. But let's say he's following a male referee into the locker room, to a point saying, "You stupid, incompetent, blankety blank, you have no idea what you're doing. You're totally incompetent." Or if he did the same to a female referee, to me, the punishment has to be the same. But he stereotyped it if he's saying "you blonde, this and that."
Oh yeah, Jack. If you go after a black referee and call them certain names, they're going to come down a lot harder on you than you do a white referee. And I'm not saying they shouldn't. They should. And if it's a woman and you're calling her a dumb blonde beach, they're going to come down on you.
Wait. But no. It works both ways. If a black player said to a white referee, may reference to him being white, this, they would come down on him, I believe. Yeah, I mean,
maybe so.
At the point I'm trying to make, she's a referee at the end of the day. You might say, well, she's a woman at the end of the day. Look, John McEnroe, the way he used to talk to the Lions judges, saying, "You incompetent fool." It sounds worse if he said it to a woman. I understand that. I get all that. It sounds worse. But at the end of the day, they're professionals. And let me tell you something, what I like about women in sports, all in all. They want to be treated as equals. And I'm sure that referee, even though she's a woman, wants to be treated as an NBA referee, not as a woman NBA referee.
I agree. And if you saw the reaction, Jack, I don't know if you saw the video.
No, I didn't.
The female referee just put her hands up and walked away. And Embiid was throwing chairs and yelling. I mean, it was over the top. It was over the top. He went back to the bench. Maybe because he got kicked out. He was throwing chairs, acting a fool. I don't know who he was trying to go away. He was trying to go after somebody. I mean, I don't know what's wrong with Embiid. I think he's got mental issues. I really do. I'm not sure what it is.
I think he's frustrated because he's not going to win a championship with that Sixer team. They're good enough to be in the playoffs, but they can't take the extra step as is. The best medicine for Joel Embiid would be, outside of him getting traded, if the Sixers get Jimmy Butler, Butler's his guy from the time they were together. And the Sixers, they're good friends. He loves Jimmy Butler. Butler likes Embiid a heck of a lot. If Butler wound up on the Sixers, wow, Embiid would be a different player. He would come to work so much happier. But with that said, the Sixers don't have the chips that I could see to get Jimmy Butler unless they're going to give up a few number one draft picks. They're certainly not going to give up, Tyrese Maxey for him.
I agree. Quick MLB news: the Dodgers spent $72 million on a 4-year deal for reliever Tanner Scott. Jack, I mean, I get it. It's your money. It's your money as a club. I mean, does the MLB ever start getting involved and saying, "Listen, man, you're deferring all this money"? Yeah, I mean, it's wrong. I mean, there's a lot of small market teams complaining about this. Even the mid market teams are starting to complain about this. Should the MLB step in and try to do something with these, with some teams that are just they're just gathering money?
Not at all. I mean, I'm envious of the Dodgers. They're loaded. I mean, we're ways off, Matt, from us talking about who we're predicting wins the World Series, next year. But I could give you my prediction now. It's the Dodgers. They're the clear favorites.
Right.
It's not going to take any brain work to pick the Dodgers to win. They are loaded. Just got the great Japanese pitcher who's supposed to be an ace. Tanner Scott, the reliever they got, one of the best relievers in baseball. They got themselves a great closer. They got a great pitching staff, great position players. They are loaded. As far as deferring money, any team could defer money. I mean, but eventually you defer all this money. It is going to come back to haunt you as an organization down the line. Think of it like inflation. We spend a lot of money now on something. You got to pay a price later on for it. Okay? And my answer is beat these teams in the field. Beat them in the field. The Mets have the money. They can match the Dodgers in the money. You know what I think it is, Matt? I think L.A. has become more of a destination place for players to go to than anywhere else. They would rather play in Los Angeles than, let's say, New York, given the choice.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It used to be years ago, New York was the magic place. Oh, endorsement opportunities. Athletes don't need to be in New York to get endorsement opportunities. Look at LeBron James. No one has more endorsements than him. And that started when he played at Cleveland. With social media, it doesn't matter what team you're on. That team is going to get the exposure if you're a major star.
Well,
if you're
let me tell you let me tell you before we go off what I'm talking about when I say, does the MLB do something? The NFL has a draft. The worst team gets the first pick, and that's how it goes. MLB doesn't have that. I mean, they're draft players they don't see for 3-4 years for the most part. So, I mean, at least the NFL tries to give the teams that are struggling a chance to build their team. MLB really don't do that, Jack. So that's what I mean. Maybe the MLB should try something. I'm not saying go in and say you can't sign anybody anymore.
No, it's the free agents, Mac. That's
yeah, but the draft ain't the same, Jack.
But the Dodgers are through the draft. They're signing these high impact, free agents like to sign Blake Snell. A great starting pitcher, 2-time Cy Young Award winner as a free agent. Now Tanner Scott, one of the best relievers in baseball. The great Japanese free agent pitcher. Teoscar Hernandez, their left fielder, they were able to re-sign him again. They're just getting it done. I mean, they're loaded. The other teams just got to keep up and then beat them on the field. It doesn't guarantee you're going to win having all these great players. Dodgers favorite for sure.
Again, real quick. I think any foreign player that comes in shouldn't be able to say who they're going to. I think that it should be up to the team, some kind of lottery, whatever. I don't think that they should have carte blanche to go whatever team they want. They're coming into the MLB. The MLB should have some kind of power on that. Richard, thank you. You have a great weekend too. We will end the show now. Have a good one, folks, and enjoy the